I was scrolling through my messages one afternoon, casually sipping lukewarm coffee and half watching a rerun of some home renovation show in the background when I noticed something strange. My phone had been quieter than usual all day. No memes from my younger brother. No overlong rants from my mom about the neighbor's barking dog. No random links from my sister trying to rope me into her latest side hustle. It felt too quiet. For context, I'm Cody, 28 years old and the so-called responsible one of the family, which in my family basically means I pay my bills on time and don't cause drama. I have a stable job in IT, a decent apartment, and more than 3 working brain cells. That apparently puts me in the minority in my family. So I opened the group chat, our glorified family command center, complete with daily chaos, minor guilt trips, and the occasional poorly edited birthday meme. Only it wasn't there. At first I thought maybe I'd archived it by mistake, or accidentally hit something I shouldn't have, but after a few minutes of searching it sank in. I'd been removed. The Cody family group chat that had been active for years, where we planned holidays, shared updates, and occasionally argued over who left the freezer door open at mom's, was gone. My name had been removed like an expired file. Now look, I'm not the dramatic type. I don't cry over digital chats or throw tantrums when someone leaves me on read. But this was different. This was my family. I stared at my screen for a minute, my brain juggling confusion, irritation, and that pit in your stomach kind of hurt. Did I say something wrong? Did I miss a birthday or offend someone? Without realizing it, I waited an hour, then another. Still nothing. Finally, I sent my sister Lauren a message directly. She was always the loudest in the group, both literally and figuratively. So if anyone knew what was going on, it'd be her. Hey, did the group chat get deleted or something? I can't see it anymore. The 3 dots popped up almost instantly, then disappeared, then came back, then finally her reply dropped in like a cold slap. No, we just took you out. We don't want your negativity anymore. That was it. No greeting, no explanation, not even an emoji to soften the blow. Just a flat sentence that hit harder than I expected. I stared at it for a good 30 seconds, rereading it to make sure I wasn't hallucinating negativity. I racked my brain, flipping through recent conversations. I called out my mom for making a passive-aggressive comment about my job last week. Told my brother his conspiracy theory about 5G towers was nonsense. Said no when Lauren asked me to co-sign a loan for her friend's new wellness crystal business. Was that it? Was refusing to enable bad decisions now considered negative? I replied, trying to keep it civil. Can you explain what you mean? She didn't answer. Not right away. Not for hours, in fact. I watched Netflix, paced around, cleaned my already clean kitchen, checked my phone again. Nothing. The silence spoke louder than any response could. Eventually she sent a voice message. I could already feel the eye roll forming before I even hit play. You're just always bringing the mood down, Cody. Like we try to have fun in the group and you're always correcting people or being all realistic. It's draining. We just want to keep things light, okay? I wanted to laugh or maybe scream. Realistic? That's what this was about. I was being kicked out of the family group chat because I refused to play along with fantasy, budgeting, MLM pitches, and groupthink nonsense. I didn't respond. Not then. I needed a minute, and then another, and then I started thinking about how I'd been the one to set up that Netflix account 5 years ago when Mom's old DVD player finally gave up. How I'd added everyone to my Spotify premium family plan because my brother complained about the ads during his workouts. How Lauren's phone bill had been on my plan since she blew through her data one summer and begged me for help. How even my dad's car insurance had my name on it because I got a corporate discount through my job and he just needed help getting it started. I'd never asked them to pay me back. Not once. I covered the bills every month because I could afford it and because, frankly, it felt like the only real way I stayed connected to them, through support, through usefulness, through being the guy they could lean on. But apparently that wasn't enough. Or maybe it was too much. I looked at all the monthly charges, the apps, the services, the shared passwords and autopay settings. I looked at everything they'd Used silently, comfortably, never once. Questioning where it all came from. And then I started wondering what would happen if all of that disappeared. Not out of malice. Not yet. But out of curiosity. I didn't do anything that night. I let the idea marinate. I slept on it poorly. I dreamed of group chats filled with laughing emojis that didn't include me, family dinners I wasn't invited to, of Lauren posting her wellness crystal business launch, and everyone heart reacting while I sat on the digital sidelines watching like a ghost. The next morning I got up early and opened my billing dashboard. One by one, I reviewed every shared account, and I started making a list, not of revenge, just a list. Netflix, Spotify, the family phone plan, car insurance, Hulu, the HBO account Lauren used to binge, true crime shows, even the Apple family sharing setup my dad used to back up his photos I'd never even seen. I sipped my coffee, eyes fixed on the screen. My phone buzzed. It was a picture from my mom, a family dinner, my brother, my parents, Lauren, plates full, laughter frozen in pixels. No caption. I wasn't invited. I wasn't even mentioned. And that was the moment something inside me started to shift. Not just sadness or confusion anymore. Something sharper, colder, a quiet click in my chest, like the sound of a lock turning. They didn't want my negativity. Fine. But they were about to find out what life looked like without my support too, and that was going to be very, very different. It started small, like most things do. A message here, a charge there, nothing too dramatic. I didn't cancel everything all at once. That would have been too obvious, too loud. No, I wanted to see how long it would take them to notice, how long they'd ride on the comfort I provided without realizing the ground beneath them had shifted. I started with the HBO account. Lauren texted me 2 days later. Hey, did HBO log me out? I was halfway through that cult docu. I left her on read. She messaged again. Can you resend the login? I think it glitched. Still nothing from me. A few hours passed, and then she wrote, Cody. It was the first time she'd said my name since the group chat removal. But I didn't bite. Instead, I quietly removed her device from the account and changed the password. That night I got a passive-aggressive post on my Facebook feed from her, a meme that said, some people only help so they can control you. We see you. She didn't tag me, but it wasn't subtle. I rolled my eyes and kept going. The Spotify family plan was next. That one hit fast. A barrage of messages came in the next morning. My brother Josh went off first. Bro, what happened to the music? I was at the gym and suddenly I'm getting ads about toe fungus. I smirked. Are you still on the Spotify? I asked, acting dumb. Yeah, our Spotify. He replied, no, my Spotify. I said back, y'all said you didn't want my negativity. I assumed that included my services. He didn't answer. Later, Mom chimed in with a vague, guilt-laced text. We're all a little surprised by your behavior lately. I don't know what's gotten into you. You used to be so generous. Used to be, as if that generosity hadn't carried the weight of their comforts for years. I didn't respond. I was getting good at silence. It wasn't about the money. Let me be clear. I'm not rich, but I'm stable. Cutting them off wasn't a financial decision. It was emotional. A slow detangling of the web I'd been trapped in for far too long. And the more I unraveled, the more I saw just how deep their entitlement ran. Lauren sent another message the following day. A wall of text this time. I just feel like you're being really unfair. Like, okay, maybe we didn't handle things perfectly, but kicking us off everything without a warning, that's messed up. You know Mom can't figure out tech stuff. And Dad's car insurance is under your name, remember? What's he supposed to do? You're punishing all of us just because you felt left out. Grow up. I stared at her message for a long time. Then I started typing, then deleted, then typed again, deleted again. There was too much to say, and none of it would land the way I needed it to. So I left it, let the silence speak. That night I got a call from Dad. He rarely calls me unless something needs fixing. His printer, his laptop, a charger he thinks is infected. But this time he skipped the pleasantries. Cody, I just got a notice that the car insurance is being cancelled. What's going on? I sighed. I took myself off the plan. You took yourself off. Yes, since it was my policy, and I was the one paying for it. Figured you could transfer it over now that, I'm not. Welcome. There was a long pause. I could hear his jaw tightening through the phone. This is over that group chat. Nonsense. It's not nonsense to me. Cody, don't be dramatic. You've always been sensitive. There it was, the classic deflection. My feelings being reduced to melodrama. I almost laughed. I'm being clear, not dramatic. You all made a choice. Now I'm making mine. He hung up without another word. The next day, the group chat reappeared in my messages. No apology, no explanation. Just an invite titled Family Group New. I didn't join. Instead, I got a separate message from Mom. Honey, we miss you. Don't let a misunderstanding blow up the whole family. Blow up the whole family. As if I lit the match. As if they hadn't held the flame to the fuse and walked away. I felt like I was being gaslit in for K. But still I hesitated. Part of me wanted to just cave, rejoin the group, let things go back to normal. I missed being in the loop. I missed knowing about birthdays and barbecues and Mom's endless updates about her garden. But I also knew that if I went back, nothing would change. I'd just be accepting that their comfort came at the cost of my boundaries. So I declined the invite. That's when things got nasty. Lauren started messaging me nonstop. Voice notes, texts, even an email. She was alternating between guilt tripping and outright insults. You're acting like a child. No wonder you're still single. Mom cried yesterday because of you. Are you happy? And then came the straw that snapped the camel's spine. She posted a video on Instagram. Just a story gone in 24 hours, but not before a friend of mine screenshotted it and sent it to me. It was a clip of her talking to the camera, laughing with her friends in the background. Some people get a little bit of power and think they're kings. Like, you gave your family a few passwords, and now you think we owe you our lives. Get over yourself. You're not that important. She tagged it family drama and added a laughing emoji. I stared at that screen for what felt like hours. The sheer disrespect, the complete lack of self-awareness. I hadn't asked for groveling. I hadn't demanded anything. I'd simply stopped doing the things they took for granted, and still they couldn't handle it. But the worst part, what really twisted the knife, was a comment from Mom under the post. He's always been a little dramatic. He'll come around. My own mother, publicly commenting like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. That was the exact moment I made my decision. All the quiet steps I'd taken so far, the streaming cuts, the phone plan removals, the insurance changes, those were just appetizers. It was time for the main course. I logged into the phone plan dashboard. All 5 family members still on it, all using data, racking up monthly costs while complaining about my pettiness. One by one, I removed them. Josh texted me within 15 minutes. Dude, my phone's not working. No signal. Did something happen to the plan? I didn't answer. 30 minutes later, Lauren called from a new number. I declined it. Another hour and Mom sent a group text. Not on any app. Just good old-fashioned essence. Cody, please call me. This is serious. We're trying to fix this. But it was never about fixing. It was about control. They'd never once said, we're sorry. Never once said, we see how we hurt you. Never once thought maybe they'd pushed too far. So I kept going. That night I pulled up the Netflix and fully deactivated the profiles. Changed the name of the only remaining one to negativity, just for the poetic flair. I left the profile picture as a frowny face. I updated the Disney Plus login. Changed the password. Wiped the devices. Same with Hulu. I wasn't being petty. I was reclaiming. Still, the messages didn't stop. They escalated. Threats of legal action for canceling services. Accusations of holding the family hostage. Even a call from an unknown number that turned out to be my aunt trying to mediate. That was the first time I cried. Not out of guilt, but out of this deep, hollow ache. I realized they were never going to see me, not as a person, only as a utility, and I was tired of being a service provider, masquerading as a son, brother, and uncle. I was done. But just when I thought they couldn't stoop lower, just when I believed the worst was behind me, I got a notification. A new post. Lauren. Again. This one not a story. A full grid. Post. Public. A picture of her and Josh. And my parents all seated at dinner. Smiling. Captioned. Some people remove you from their life because you make them feel too seen. We'll always have each other. I stared at the photo. Zoomed in. There in the center of the table was a phone. And on that screen, a paused Netflix show. Still logged in. Still playing, still under my name. They'd found a workaround. They were still using me, still pretending I didn't exist, but draining whatever access they could scrape from the corners. I clenched my jaw. It was no longer about group chats or accounts. It was about respect. And I'd finally reached my breaking point. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, phone screen dimly glowing beside me, replaying that photo over and over. My family seated together, laughing faces, lit by the glow of a TV screen playing a show they were still streaming from my account. It wasn't even about the Netflix anymore. It was the symbolism that even after everything, after the silence, the insults, the removals, they still felt entitled to take without so much as a second thought, that they would post that moment to social media, posing like a united front while weaponizing hashtags about toxicity and family first, while still sucking power from the very person they'd iced out. And there I was alone on the outside, looking in. Again, that's when the real anger crept in. Not the sharp, fire-hot kind that flares up and dies out, but the cold, hollow kind. The kind that sits in your chest like ice water and numbs everything it touches. For a few minutes, I thought about deleting all my accounts, changing my number, disappearing altogether, just walking away. I thought about every memory from the last few years. Birthday cakes I'd paid for, emergencies I'd covered, holidays I'd driven hours to attend only to end up sitting at the edge of the table like a guest in my own family. And now they were branding me the toxic one. I felt humiliated, used, and more than anything, I felt like I didn't matter. I didn't cry, not yet. I just sat in the quiet of my apartment while the city slept around me, the distant hum of traffic outside my window, the only sign the world was still spinning. That morning, I called in sick to work. I didn't have the energy to fake being okay. My boss was understanding. She always was. But the second I hung up, the weight hit me. All the years I'd poured into my family, into being the dependable one, the helper, the fixer, it had all amounted to this. A cold shoulder and a shared photo with a fake smile. I didn't eat that day, barely moved, just shuffled around my apartment in a haze, picking things up only to set them down again. I tried to distract myself with movies, games, even a walk outside. But everywhere I went, that ache followed. I was grieving, not a death, but the loss of a fantasy. The fantasy that if I just gave enough, if I just loved enough, if I just tried hard enough, my family would see me the way I'd always seen them, as worth the effort. That night, around 2 a.m., I finally let go. I curled up on the floor of my living room, hugged my knees to my chest like I hadn't done since I was a kid, and sobbed. Not the dignified kind either. The ugly, choking kind. The kind that rips out of you when years of unspoken hurt finally reached the surface. I cried for the birthdays I'd spent alone, for the text messages never answered, for the we were just joking jobs that had landed like daggers, for all the times I'd swallowed my pride and said yes when I wanted to scream no. And when the tears dried, I felt empty but clean, like something inside me had been scrubbed raw. That was the bottom, but it was also where I found the first brick of something new. The next morning, I got up and opened a blank note on my phone, titled it, "What do I want?" Not what they wanted, not what I was expected to want, but me, Cody, a 28-year-old IT guy with no more room for illusions. I wrote, peace, boundaries, friendships that feel like home, a gym, routine that doesn't fizzle out in 2 weeks, maybe a dog, a career I actually like, to stop living in reaction to people who never ask how I'm doing. It wasn't profound. It wasn't even that ambitious, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt real, too. That week, I made some quiet changes. I started therapy again, video Sessions on Tuesdays with a woman named Kara, who listened like her life depended on it. I told her everything, the group chat, the accounts, the betrayal, the ache in my chest that hadn't gone away. She didn't offer miracle cures, just space and questions that made me think. What would your life look like if you stopped playing the family hero? That one haunted me for days. I also restructured my finances. I combed through every shared subscription and account, cross-referenced every auto payment, and scrubbed away the remnants of shared responsibility. It felt like cleaning out a closet full of moldy clothes I didn't know I was still wearing. I bought myself a new phone. Plan, solo, simple mine. Set up new passwords for everything, clean slates across the board. And then just because I could, I treated myself to something I'd been putting off for years, a week-long solo trip. Nothing fancy, just a quiet cabin up in the mountains. No Wi-Fi, no reception, just me, some books, and enough silence to hear myself think again. The first night in the cabin, I stood on the porch wrapped in a hoodie, the sky scattered with stars so thick it felt like a painting. I breathed deep, no buzz of notifications, no family drama, just stillness. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't missing them. I was missing who I thought they were. The versions I created in my head. The loving sister who would eventually say thank you, the mother who would one day see my efforts, the father who'd call just to talk. They weren't real, but I was. And for the first time that felt like enough. When I got back, I started making other changes too. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in ages, people who never made me feel like I had to earn my place in their lives. We grabbed coffee, swapped old jokes, and for once I didn't feel like I had to pretend. I could be tired. I could be quiet. I could be me. At work, I applied for a position in a different department, one with more flexibility, better pay, and a manager who actually valued communication. I didn't think I'd get it, but 2 weeks later I did. My new team sent a welcome email filled with emojis and exclamation marks, and for the first time in years, I didn't dread Mondays. I also finally joined that gym near my place. I went at night when it was quiet, tucked into a hoodie, earbuds in, slowly rebuilding a body that had carried too much stress for too long. I wasn't chasing a six-pack. I just wanted to feel strong again, capable, grounded. And slowly, something else started happening too. I began to feel lighter, like I'd been walking around with a weighted vest and didn't even know it. The absence of my family's constant noise didn't feel like a hole anymore. It felt like space to breathe, to move, to grow. I wasn't rushing to fill it. I was learning to live inside it. But even as I rebuilt, the echoes didn't vanish completely. Every now and then, I'd get a text from Lauren, usually vague, sometimes hostile, sometimes sweet. Hey, hope you're okay. You really hurt, Mom. I miss how things used to be. I didn't respond, not because I hated her, but because I knew nothing had changed on their end. They wanted access, not accountability, reconnection, without reflection, and I wasn't interested in reopening wounds that were finally starting to scar over. But then, a month after the trip, something happened that shifted everything again. A certified letter arrived in my mailbox. No return address. Inside it was a copy of an invoice, a car insurance bill, overdue, with my name still listed as the primary policy holder, and in the bottom corner, scribbled in ink, a note. You can't just abandon your family. There are consequences. No signature, no name, but I knew who it was from. I held that paper in my hand, jaw tightening. My fingers trembled, not with fear, but with a cold, calculated resolve. They weren't done. They still thought I was bluffing, still believed I'd fold, still thought they could reach into my life, pull strings, make demands, and I'd cave. The way I always had. But they were wrong, because I wasn't the same Cody anymore. Not the fixer, not the doormat, not the background character in my own story. And I was done playing nice. Getting that letter, not just the invoice, but the message scribbled at the bottom, flipped a switch in me, not in a dramatic movie montage kind of way. More like someone slowly turning a dial. It didn't explode. It simmered, boiled under the surface like a pot I'd left on low heat for years. You can't Just abandon your family. There are consequences. Not a plea. Not remorse. A threat. That's when I knew they didn't see what they'd done as wrong. They didn't view me stepping away as a boundary. To them, it was betrayal. Me saying no for the first time in my adult life was an act of war. So if that's how they saw it, fine. I'd give them a war, but not the kind they expected. No screaming matches. No confrontations. No petty Instagram stories or call-out posts. I'd already done the emotional work. I wasn't looking for revenge, just to feel better. I was looking for something quieter, sharper, something that made a statement so clean they couldn't twist it, something they'd feel for years. And that's when the real planning began. I started by pulling every single account and service that had ever been tied to my name. I'd done this before in a surface level way when I was cleaning house, removing them from Spotify, Netflix, the phone plan. But this time I dug deeper. Credit reports, address history, online logins shared, emails from 5 or 6 years ago that I'd long forgotten, and I found a lot. Turns out I'd been the foundation for more than just family entertainment. Lawrence's PayPal account still had my old email linked as a recovery. Josh's Twitch subscriptions still going through. A backup debit card I'd given him in college just in case. Dad's car insurance, the one I thought I'd removed myself from, still active under my name, just with their payment method temporarily patched in. Even Mom's phone's Apple ID was still listed under a family sharing plan I'd set up back when her phone kept glitching and she'd beg me to help. I started collecting everything. Screenshots, statements, emails, every digital thread that tied us together. I stored them in a private Google Drive folder labeled simply Reset. Then came step 2. I called my bank and got a new card number. Not just for my main debit, every account, every savings, every backup. I restructured all the automatic payments and transferred my balances to a new personal checking account under a separate bank. Next, I called my car insurance company. After about 40 minutes and 2 transfers, I finally got to someone who could see the legacy data. Sure enough, my name was still the primary on my dad's vehicle. It had never been properly transferred, just duct taped on top. I filed a formal disassociation request, sent in my ID, made them confirm on the record that I held zero legal or financial responsibility for that policy. Can I ask what happened? The woman on the phone said, just cleaning up. I said, long overdue. Once the paperwork was filed, I got a call. Unknown number. I let go to voicemail. It was my dad. You think you're clever? You know how much hassle you're creating? This is your family, Cody. You don't just wash your hands and walk away. I saved the voicemail, uploaded it to the drive. Then I filed a report with the FTC's Identity Theft Division. Not because my identity had been stolen exactly, but because it had been used, exploited, without my knowledge, extended in ways I never consented to. The agent on the phone was incredibly helpful, told me I wasn't the first person to go through something like this with family, walked me through every step of freezing my credit and flagging past authorizations. I also set up 2-step authentication on everything. I mean everything. If someone tried to access an old Hulu login or recover an email I hadn't used since 2016, I wanted a ping. I was done leaving doors unlocked. Then came the real power move. I remembered something Lauren had bragged about last year at Thanksgiving, that she'd finally gotten approved for a new apartment thanks to having good credit from being on Cody's stuff for years. I hadn't thought about it at the time, but now it clicked. I pulled my full credit report from all 3 bureaus, scanned every line like I was decoding a message, and there it was, a utilities account in my name, opened 3 years ago, address not mine, Lauren's building. She'd used my name and social without asking. Probably thought she was doing me a favor, or maybe just figured I wouldn't notice. I filed a dispute, reported the account as unauthorized, froze my credit, flagged any attempts to open new accounts. Within days, she got a notice that her power bill was being terminated pending verification. She texted me in a panic. Why is my electricity being messed with? I'm going to lose my lease. I didn't respond, but I took a screenshot. Then, just for good measure, I called the leasing office of her building, told Then my identity had been used on a utilities account tied to a unit there. Sent them the FTC report, asked them to flag my name in the system and remove me from any leases or linked accounts. That's when the second wave hit. My mom texted, "Why is Lauren saying she might lose her apartment? Did you do something? Cody, be honest." I finally replied, "I'm cleaning up anything that was created without my consent." Her response was short, "You're destroying this family." I just stared at it. No, I thought, I'm just not letting it destroy me anymore. But I wasn't done yet. Because revenge wasn't about watching them squirm. It was about making sure they couldn't do this to me or anyone ever again. I went fully nuclear in the cleanest, most professional way possible. I drafted a cease and desist letter. Formal, polite, airtight. I stated that I no longer authorized any member of my immediate family to use my name, credit, identification, or payment information for any purpose. I cited the FTC complaint number, the filed disputes, and included a list of known accounts I'd flagged. I sent it via certified mail, each letter signed and timestamped. They couldn't say I didn't warn them. Then I filed a change of address form for myself, not because I was moving, but because I'd memorized my old addresses. I was done getting random bills forwarded to me by accident. I even created a new personal email, one I didn't give to anyone but a few close friends. The old one, I scrubbed it off everything important. Let it sit there like a trap waiting for someone to try something. But I didn't isolate myself. Not this time. I started reconnecting with people who saw me, not out of obligation, but because they wanted to. My friend Marcus, who'd once said, "You always show up for everyone who shows up for you," he started inviting me to game nights again. My old roommate Sam and I started meeting for weekend hikes. I even joined a local tech meetup group, gave a talk, felt my hands shake through the whole thing, but they clapped, smiled. I wasn't invisible anymore. I started journaling, hit the gym more, signed up for a cooking class. Then one Friday night, sitting in a quiet restaurant with new friends and real laughter swirling around me, my phone buzzed. A message from Lauren. Just 2 words, "We need to talk." I put my phone face down, took a sip of my drink, because I already knew what she was going to say. She'd finally hit a wall she couldn't climb using my name. And she was about to learn what consequences really looked like. The message sat on my phone like a stone at the bottom of a lake. "We need to talk." I didn't respond, not out of spite, not anymore, just clarity, because at this point I didn't need to talk. Everything I needed to say had been said, with boundaries, with silence, with paperwork, but I knew it wasn't over. That text was just the first crack in the wall they built, the one where they painted themselves as victims of my pettiness while still trying to siphon from the very life they pushed me out of. 3 days passed, then a voicemail, then another, then my mom tried calling from her landline, the one she used only when she really needed to be taken seriously. I let them all go to voicemail. Then came a message from Josh. "They're freaking out, dude. Lauren's getting hit with fees." Mom's saying her Apple ID won't sync. Dad's insurance lapsed. "Can you just fix it and we'll figure it out later?" No apology, no ownership, just fix it. They still didn't get it, but fate, it turns out, has a way of stepping in when you're quiet enough to let it. It started with a call from the leasing office of Lauren's apartment. They were following up on the FTC complaint. The utilities bill had been flagged and they'd begun reviewing the lease applications. They discovered Lauren had submitted additional documentation, a co-signer letter using my name, and a fake signature. Identity fraud. It didn't take long for that to spiral. The electric company opened their own internal case. Her services were suspended until a verified identity could be confirmed. And when she tried to explain, they asked for documentation, proof of relationship, proof of consent. She had nothing. That's when the messages started pouring in. "Cody, I'm literally going to lose my apartment. Please, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. You're being cruel. You're ruining my life over utilities. Are you proud of that? I made one mistake. One. And now I'm being punished for it like I'm some kind of criminal." I didn't answer. I didn't have to, because Shortly after that, she was contacted by someone else, not me, not my lawyer, the fraud department, a routine inquiry. They said, nothing formal just yet, but she panicked, and she made her first real mistake. She tried to blame me, said I used to help with everything, and probably forgot I gave permission, but the agent had the cease and desist letter, the FTC complaint, the recorded dates of when I'd flagged everything and removed myself from all associations. Her story collapsed before she could finish it, and that's when she did something I didn't expect. She showed up at my building. I was walking back from a grocery run when I saw her sitting on the bench near the front doors, wearing oversized sunglasses like that somehow disguised the desperation in her body language. I paused, not out of shock, out of choice. I had every reason to keep walking, but some part of me, not forgiving but ready, walked over. She stood when she saw me. Cody. Her voice cracked. Can we talk, please? I said nothing. I messed up. I know I did. I thought it wasn't a big deal. I thought it was just I don't know normal. Normal to use someone's name to open accounts and lie on legal documents? I asked. My voice was calm. I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. She looked down. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but it did. She nodded slowly, eyes glassy. I'm scared. I sat beside her, not close, just enough. You should be, I said, not because of me, but because of what it says about you, that it took this much damage for you to feel something. I was hurting too, she said quietly. Mom and Dad, they always expected you to fix things, and I knew if I asked, you'd say no, so I didn't. I just did it anyway. That's not an excuse. That's a confession. She nodded. I'll tell them the truth about everything. That surprised me. I won't fight the utility complaint, she said. I'll pay whatever I have to. Just don't press charges, please. I can't handle that. I stared at her for a moment, and in that moment I saw her not as the enemy, not even as the sister who had manipulated and guilt-tripped me for years, but as a deeply flawed, frightened person who was finally staring into the mirror she'd spent her whole life avoiding. I'm not going to the police, I said, not unless you force my hand. Relief flooded her face. But I'm also not your safety net anymore, I continued. This is the last conversation we'll ever have if you try to pull me back into the mess. Do you understand? She nodded, said thank you, tried to hug me. I didn't return it. Then I stood and walked inside. The next week was a cascade. My dad's insurance lapsed. Officially, he had to start over. Mom's iCloud was locked pending identity verification. She lost access to half her apps and couldn't recover her password without my backup number, which no longer existed. Josh's phone, which had quietly remained on my old plan and, even after I'd removed him, was fully disconnected due to non-payment. Apparently, he'd been writing off a billing delay. One by one, the dominoes fell. They hadn't believed I'd actually walked away, but now they had no choice but to face a world where I no longer buffered the consequences of their decisions. The fallout was mostly quiet. A few more angry texts, some veiled Facebook posts about family betrayal and being stabbed in the back. A rant from my mom's friend to her friends about kids these days and their selfishness. But I didn't respond. Instead, I sent one final message. A group email addressed to all of them. Subject line closure. I've chosen peace. I hope one day you choose it too. Until then, this is the end of my involvement in anything tied to any of you financially, digitally, or otherwise. I have reported all misuses of my name and accounts to the appropriate agencies. Any further violations will be pursued legally. I wish you all healing, but I won't be a part of the damage anymore. Cody. Then I archived the thread, blocked their numbers, set up email filters, and I moved on. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment, smaller but brighter, warmer. There were photos on the wall. Now, my friends, my hikes, a dog-eyed adopted named Finn who snored like a tractor and refused to sleep anywhere but under the couch. I cooked my own dinners, laughed with people who never asked me to pay for anything more than my share. I was invited to a birthday party and didn't feel the need to bring an expensive gift to prove my worth. I Started dating, slowly, honestly, no. Baggage dragging behind me, I didn't. Miss my family, not really, because I finally understood something I should have learned a long time ago. You don't owe loyalty to people who weaponize your kindness, and sometimes walking away isn't revenge, it's survival. It's freedom. It's finally choosing yourself. And for the first time in my life, I did. I wasn't the villain for walking away. I was just the first one, brave enough to stop pretending it was love.